uh, what happens if we conduct with that licensed version is you will have 50 minutes of solid time to discuss the concepts, and as well as it will help us to clear the doubts if any. So there is no restriction like for 40 minutes, 30 minutes like that. So from tomorrow onwards, hope you will get a good, effective teaching classes for you, right? Uh, Now let me start our today's session. Right. So in the last class, okay, I'll increase my volume, no issue. Uh, in the last class, we have discussed something about what is collections in Java, right? A collection, simply you can imagine that groups together a set of elements. Just simply it is a making a group of elements together as a single unit, and you can apply various operations on that group. Instead of individual object, you can perform a single operation on the group of objects like searching, retrieving, deleting, addition, the whatever the operations that you are able to perform on the list, you can do it, right? So that is the use of collection. So in the Java itself, it provides as a framework. So it provides an architecture to store and manipulate the group of objects, right? So as we have discussed in the previous class, the implementation of linked list, what way we can implement using this collection and all. Collection and all. Now, let us see the implementation of stack. 1 minute. I'll increase my volume. Okay. So stack is a linear data structure which follows the mechanism of last in first out principle. So always will perform the insertion and the deletion at only one end and called as top, right? So the Java collection frameworks provides a stack class that models and implements a stacked data structure. Now it is also, as we have seen in the previous slide, so now this is the hierarchy of the okay. Who draws this line? Kindly erase it. Somebody is drawing lines on the monitor itself, so kindly remove it. Okay, right. So in this diagram, you can observe that a stack is a class which implements the list interface, right? So now let us see what are the methods that are available in the stack class, and what way we can perform operations on the group of objects. Okay, so Java stack is a legacy collection class. It extends a vector class with 5 operations because it extends the, because some of the additional methods in which the stack class is going to be implemented in addition to the methods which are available in the vector class, right? And it is a synchronized one also. So it is available in the collection API right from the beginning of the Java. As vector implements list, stack class is also a list implementation class, but does not support all operations of vector or list. As stack supports last in first out. It is also known as LIFO list, as you are aware of it, right? Now, so this is the hierarchy of the stack class. because iterable, collection, list, in which vector and stack is the subclass of the vector itself. So the class supports one default constructor, that is stack, which is used to create an empty stack. Now, so these are the various methods that are available in the stack class, right? So in that, first one is empty. Okay, so what is the use of this empty method? Just simply it tests if this given stack is empty or not, right? And similarly, peek. So it looks at the object at the top of the stack without removing it from the stack. So usually when you apply the pop operation, what happens? Whatever the element which is present in the top of the stack is going to be deleted or removed from the stack. Whereas the peek, just simply it display the element which is present in the top without removing it, right? So all of you try to understand the difference. Pop removes the element at the top of the stack, whereas peek just display the, or just it retrieves the top of the stack element. Like push, which is used to add an element to the stack. It is also performed at the one end by using top of the stack. Next, search for an element whether it is present in the stack or not, right? It returns one based on the position where an object is on the stack, right? Now, so that is about the various methods which are available in the stack. So again, here you need to understand an important point is stack is also represents a collection of objects or a collection of elements together. It has a single unit, right? So that is the reason why we need to discuss a stack in this collections of Java. Right now, let us see the example program which illustrates all these 5 methods and what way it was implemented and what are the outputs of these methods. Let us see with an example. So this is the code for implementing the stack, right? So this stack class is available in the package import java.util.stack. When you are defining a stack, you are supposed to import this package, right? And next, now stack integer. So now I will create a stack object for the class stack, which is available at the java.utility.stack. All right. Now, system.out.println empty stack, okay, is empty or not. Here I was verified. We'll see all these outputs and all. Until then, you just observe that what are the statements that you wrote in this particular program. So as I told you, is empty method is returns true value if the stack is empty. Now by using this, okay. Now is it visible to you? Somebody make a notice that the code is not visible. Okay. Right. So stack push. So here I want to add new element to the stack, that is called as 101. I want to add 101 as the first element to the stack by using the method push, right? Usually if you are not using this stack class, you want to implement it manually, what you did, you are supposed to increment the top after placing this element in the array. Initially top is at 0 position. After placing this element at the 0th position, you are supposed to increment the top, which is pointing the next element to be inserted, right? So in such a way we are supposed to write the code. Here all these methods are defined by predefined methods in the stack class, so you need not write any code directly, you can use it. So what is the functionality of this push function is the 101 element will be added into the stack itself. Now coming to the second statement, second push statement, here I was added 102 to the stack. Similarly, 103 to the stack. So here I was added 4 elements into the stack. So now what is the top element? 104 is the topmost element because it follows the last in first out mechanism. Whatever the element which is entered into the list as a last one, that need to be you are able to remove it first. So these are the 4 elements are inserted into the stack. Now coming to this particular line. Now once again check whether it is empty list or not, because here we have added 4 elements. You have to know whether they are added successfully or not. For that you are supposed to write, you need to verify whether it is empty or not, right? So after that, first operation, stack pop. If you call one time, you are able to pop only one element. If you want to delete all the elements in it, you are supposed to write the loop structure where it starts from the beginning. Beginning in the sense, it starts from the top, because always we are able to remove the element from the top of the stack only. So that is the reason you need to repeat the for loop from the top position to 0th one, right? So, and you can apply whatever the number of elements which are present in it, that much of time you are supposed to apply the pop operation. In our case, we are going to retrieve, or we are going to remove only one element from the stack. So that's why here I was written this particular statement, stack.pop. So what we are expecting from the, after executing this statement, the stack should contain only 102, 102, 101, 102, 103 only, because 104 is the topmost element in the stack. So that is going to be removed from the list after executing this method or this function call, right? So after pop operation, whatever it may be the present in the stack, that is going to be deleted. And after that, I want to search for a particular element whether it is present in the list or not. So 1002, here I was mentioned the object, the element for which I am going to perform the search operation. So 102, if the element is present in that list, it will be displayed, I mean, it returns the true value, otherwise it returns the false value. If the element is not present in it, it returns the false value. So now let me execute this program and observe the output what it produces. So initially, what is the first statement that we have written? What is stack? What are the elements present in the stack that which I want to print? Initially, you don't have any element which is present in it. So that's why it was displayed as empty, empty. So after that, the second element, second line, here I want to check whether my stack is empty or not with the help of the method isEmpty method, stack.isEmpty. So what it returns? It returns true value, because by default this method results Boolean value as a return value. So if it returns if the stack is empty, it returns true value. It returns I mean, if the stack is not empty, it returns false value. So initially there is no element is present in the stack, so that is the reason it results the true value, right? After that, I was added 4 elements, 101, 102, 103, 104. Okay, so after adding these 4 elements, I would suppose to display the contents of the stack by using this particular one. So here it displays the list 101, 102, 103, whatever the way that you have added, whatever the order that you have followed, okay, the same order, the elements are added to the stack and they were displayed. So in that, whatever the element which is inserted last, that is 104. Now 1004, sorry. Now after that, after displaying the contents of the stack, okay, I'll try to pop an element, single element from the stack. So for that, I wrote the method stack.pop, and the content, whatever it was popped from the stack, will be displayed. Okay, so here always both insertion and deletions are performed at the only one end in stack, that is from top. So whatever the element which is present in the top is going to be removed from the list. So for that reason, here 1004 is removed from the list. Okay, after that, I was displayed the contents of the stack after performing the pop operation, right? So this is the list which is before performing the 101, 1002, 1003, 1004 is the list before applying the pop operation, and 1001, 1002, and 1003 is the list after applying the pop operation. What you have observed the difference between these two? The topmost element is removed from the stack with the help of pop operation. Now, at last, I would like to search for a particular element 1002. Okay, whether it is present in the list or not, right? And after that, so the search operation is 2. That means it returns the position where the element is available. So in this case, the second element. So that is the reason it returns as a the position itself, right? At last, now I will verify. Last, you can observe last statement is stack is empty. Here already the elements are present in the list because 1001, 1002, 1003 are still present in the stack. So that's why it is not an empty stack. So let me verify whether it shows it is not an empty set or empty set. So with the help of this is empty method, I can verify whether the stack is empty or not. So here you can observe that it is false. False means it already, the stack contains some elements in the stack itself. So that is the reason it yields the, or it produces the false value. All right. Hope you all understood the implementation of the stack using these collections. Okay, stack class which is available at the collections class. So similarly, there are some other examples are also there which I will share with you because here the time is not sufficient to discuss all those things. That means what are the examples are, I'll show you. I'll show you so that you can understand. So is it visible to everyone? Is it visible to everyone? Make it fast. Any one of you. Is it visible to you? Hope it is visible, I think. Okay, okay, done. All right, here, so this is the example which we have discussed right now. And here I was developing some other examples are also how to use arrays to implement the stack functionality, right? So here you can observe that integer int array, I was created an array and the same values which we have entered previous program, the same values are also be used here for inserting. Okay, so this is the array initialization. This is the array initialization. Now here I'll retrieve one by one from the array and I'll push it into the stack. That means whatever the contents which are present in the array will be moved to the example not visible. Okay. Now is it okay? Is it visible or not? Okay. Right. So we'll retrieve from the array and that will be placed in the stack. Alright. So after that we'll display the elements. Similarly, once you place the elements in the stack, you can apply the pop operation because without because you cannot apply the pop operation on the empty stack. Okay, so you can add that code here itself. After adding all these elements, you can add the pop code and you can verify whether it produces the same as the previous program result or not. Hope you all understand. This is the way how you can move the elements from array to stack. This is the code which illustrates that particular topic, right? So here you can observe that after pushing the elements into the stack, here I has printed the contents of the stack. Here you can observe the output of this program. It displays all the 4 elements which we have added from the array. Initially, array contains these 4 elements. So those 4 elements are added to the stack by using the push operation. After adding this, I would like to print the contents of the stack. It displays the same as the array. Okay. Similarly, list to stack. List is a forward direction only. Here we have discussed in the previous classes, right? So these are all these codes are shared with you. All these things are defining, all these programs defines what way we can add the elements from different data structure. Data structure in the sense, either we can remove it from the you can store it from the array list, or you can store it from the list, or you can store it from some other, and vice versa also. You can you can pop the element from the stack and you are able to place it into the list, or if you want to place it in the list, you can. So this particular program, the last program illustrates stack to list. In the previous program, in this particular one, I was copied the elements from the list to stack, and in the last program, I was copied the elements from the stack to list. So this all represents you how to exchange the information between various data structures and all. So I'll share this document with you. Don't worry about it. And let me discuss another important data structure, queues, because this is I hope it is enough for discussing stacks, because all the things which we have covered. And now let me talk about the queue. A queue is also a linear data structure like stack, where the stack operation, the stack follows the last in first out mechanism, whereas the queue follows the first in first out mechanism, right? The queue collection has two ends. One is front, one is called as front, and rear, another end is called as rear. The elements are added at rear and removed from the front. So in the stack, we'll have only one end for insertion and deletion, whereas in queue, you'll have two ends. One is meant for adding elements into the queue, and another one is meant for deleting the elements from the queue itself. Right? So here, the Java queue is an interface. It is an interface. So that means you can you cannot directly create object to it. So that is the reason it will be implemented with the help of either linked list or the priority queue. Because of the reason, here it is interface. You can observe in the diagram, queue, blue color rectangle boxes are represents the interfaces. Interfaces are not having any code in it, right? Yes, you are aware of that. So for that is the reason you cannot create object to instantiate all the functionalities of the queue. So that is the reason we'll implement with the help of linked list and as well as priority queues. We'll see very soon how it is going to be implemented with the help of linked list and as well as priority queue. The implementation part we will discuss. So linked list and priority queue, okay, this point which we have discussed, right? Now, queue interface, array blocking queue is yet another class that implements the queue interface. Here, the array blocking queue means the blocking queue. Blocking queue in the sense, the size of that queue will be defined well in advance. That means it was fixed. So you are able to insert the elements only within the range. Like arrays which we have discussed previously, if you create an array with the size of 10, so that you are able to store only 10 elements into it. You cannot store more than that, right? Similarly, here also the blocking in the sense, you can block the queue. You can allow only a fixed amount of elements to enter into the queue only. So in such cases, and that means backdrop, by using array functionality, we are able to implement this particular one, right? So the queues that are part of Java utility package, same as stack, can be classified as unbounded queues, while those present in Java UTL, and the concurrent package is bounded queues. These all things you can see while discussing the example, because there you can easily understand rather than theoretical aspects. Okay, and double-ended queue is also a queue that supports the insertion and deletion from both the ends. The DQ is a thread safe, right? Blocking queues. Okay, these all things we will discuss while discussing the program itself. Now, as I told you, queue is an interface. That's why we'll implement it with the help of linked list class as well as priority class, right? Queue interface in Java collection has two implementations. As I told you, these two classes implements queue interface. Now, if you want to create an object to the queue, you can do like this. Either q1 is equals to new linked list, or q2 is equals to new priority queue. By using any one of this approach, you can create. This represents the linked list operation, and this represents the priority queue operation. As you all aware of that. Priority queue. What is the difference between ordinary queue and priority queue? Ordinary queue follows the first in, first out mechanism. Okay, there is only one end to delete and another end is meant for adding. Here it is not the case. Priority queue, while allowing the elements or while collecting the elements, for each and every element should be assigned with a priority. Okay, whoever is having highest priority in the sense least element. Say for example, task 1 priority is 1, task 2 priority is 2. So you can observe the first task is the highest priority. Highest in the sense, usually we are thinking that whatever the number which is highest, that will be considered as a highest priority. But here it is not like that. Whatever the most important task, okay, so that will be considered as our priority. I hope you all understood it, right? So for each and every element will be assigned with a priority. Based on the priority only, we will remove the elements, right? Whereas in the ordinary queue, whatever the element which is present in the first, so that will be, whatever the element that is entered into the queue as a first element, that will be removed when you performing the pop operation or deletion operation on the queue. But here it is not the case. It is randomly, wherever it is present in the queue, based on that priority only, it is going to be removed from the list. So that is the important difference between priority queue and ordinary queue, right? That means the priority queue will not follow the FIFO mechanism. What FIFO mechanism? Always it is supposed to delete the first element of the list. Okay, but here it is not the case. Depends upon the priority, it is going to be deleted. So that is the reason when you are performing or when you are implementing queue, you need to be verify these particular mechanisms, right? Right. So these are the methods which are available in the queue interface. One is add, which is used to usually add the elements to the queue. Okay. So all of you read this particular paragraph. This method adds the specified element at the end of the queue, returns true if the element is added successfully, or false if the element is not added. That basically happens when the queue. This means when it returns the false value, usually if the list is empty or if the queue is empty, you can allow or you can store any number of elements in it. But if the queue is filled, if it reaches its maximum, what happens in that case? It will not allow you to insert the elements into that. So that is the reason once it reaches the maximum bound, so it displays a false value. It indicates that it already reaches the maximum bound. Okay, so in such a way you can understand. All right. So this method return element. So it is another method which is available at the queue interface. So this method returns the head, the first element of the queue. Always it returns the first element of the queue. And offer, it is another method which is similar to add. So this is also used for adding the elements, right? Remove in the sense, yeah, it is just like deletion of the element from the method, sorry, queue, right? Poll, as we have seen in the stack implementation, the peak will display the topmost element in the stack without deletion. Just simply displays, it won't delete anything, right? Similarly, the poll. So this method is also same as the remove method. Only the difference between poll and remove is poll method returns null if the queue is empty, right? So these are some of the methods which are available in the queue itself. Now let us see how to implement the queue. Is it visible to everyone? Q code. Rather than asking, I will share once again so that it will be visible to you. Right. So this is the implementation of cube example. Right. So here